Welcome to the stream, folks. We are having dark chocolate Kit Kat and coffee made with completely milk, because that's how I roll. And today we are going to do some wallpapering. Woo! And as an addendum to last night, when our monster was not locating the player, I did a bit of investigation for 5 minutes and I basically set up the AI. If we look in here and we go to AI system, I basically changed this from something which I can't remember what it was. It was either world static or it was probably world dynamic actually, but I set it to pawn for default site collision channel, and that seems to have solved the problem, right? Because the monsters weren't detecting the player, and I think it was because all the pickups and stuff were blocking the monster's view, so the monster couldn't see the player. Okay, and I think that had a follow-up in that basically what was happening was you had to get so close to the monster that it couldn't play the animation for the scream, right? Because it was just jumping straight in and straight out of there and basically setting it back to a different state. But that's besides the point. What we're going to do is we're going to now dynamically change the wallpaper in our mansion, right? And I'm going to let you see what the mansion looks like normally first, right? So if you haven't been watching, then this will be new. And we're going to use some sneaky tricks, right? So people into sneaky tricks in programming will probably like this, and especially sneaky tricks that you can use in Unreal Engine, right? So you'll see here we've got one basic wallpaper, right? But we have actually got a lot of wallpapers. I think there's about 14 of them. Okay. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to select one of those 14 wallpapers, and we're going to basically wallpaper every single wall that needs wallpaper. Okay, so that is the plan. So we're going to go into structs, and we're going to basically create a new struct that's just going to hold the material for our wallpaper, or all the different versions of it, right? So blueprint, structure, right? Now we could expand on this to give the player, you know, whether they want to actually, well, that would be in blueprint. We could add stuff to make this more randomized. Like, let's say there's 14 wallpapers, right? We could give them all the same chance, right? So they've all got an equal chance of being picked. But we could also set it up and give them, you know, a percentage chance within the struct if we wanted, right? But at the moment, what we'll do is we'll just say wallpaper material. Okay, now if we pull this out the data table, then basically we're going to save on resources here, because we're only ever going to select one wallpaper, right? So instead of loading them into an array and then picking it from the array, if we do it straight from the data table, then we're only ever going to use one texture or one material for this particular thing, right? So what we can do is basically say material, and it's going to be a material, I believe, right? So we can save that. As I said, we could add more things to it that we could do calculations on, you know, to do the random thing. But for the moment, we're just going to have that so that we can save it in a data table. And that'll do for us. Okay? So, now that that's set up, right, we've got maps, and we'll just put it in structs. Right, we'll rename this folder, and we'll basically say structs and DT's data tables, okay? So because this isn't that big, what we'll do is we'll create a new data table, and it's under miscellaneous. Okay, and we're going to be at the bottom, struct wallpaper, okay that, and we'll call it DT wallpapers. Okay, and now what we're going to do is we're going to find out how many wallpapers we have, and then we're going to create each of those things. Now these wallpapers are in either one of two places, I believe. It's either in here, right, except it's not, or it's in here. And here we go, wallpapers. Okay, so that is all our wallpapers. So you can see there we've got an absolute crap ton. Okay, now we could use either the instances, or in fact these are instances. Right, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9. 10, 11, 12, and these are SRS wallpapers. Now, what's SRS? Don't know what SRS wallpapers are. Let's have a look at an SRS wallpaper in comparison. So, right, okay, whatever. So basically, we know that these are instances now, right? So you can see there that we can actually change the paper colours and the paper metalness, pattern roughness. So we could actually do a lot more with this if we wanted, right? Because if you imagine, if we change that to 4, you know, you're going to get a very small pattern, big pattern, right? So we could actually muck about with this if we wanted to in the random generation, right? Now I'm guessing under certain circumstances certain sizes aren't going to work, but you'll notice there that we have a lot that we can actually play with if we actually wanted to, right? So we've got that open, we know where our wallpaper is, so what we'll do is we'll go back to our maps, back to our structs and data tables, and we shall go to our struct wallpaper, and this is actually a material instance. Material instance. Okay, save that. Then we shall open our DT wallpapers, and I believe we have, what was it, 14? And we've just went too far. Not to worry. Okay. So, all we need to do is select that and 1. Now, I wonder, nope, 2, 3, and 4, and 5, and 6, and 7, and 8, and 9, ten. Oh, yeah. 11, 12, 13, and 4. Where does 14 go? Well, 13 is it, because the other one isn't. No, wait a minute. Wait a minute. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, there's only 13. That's a bummer. Oh well, never mind. 13 it is. The player's only going to get 13 different options. Right, so the next thing we need to do is go into our player controller. So we're going to close these down. Right, going to our I keep saying pawn. Now you'll notice here that we've got wallpapers, right? And this has got 0. Right? So what we're actually going to do here is we're going to change this to a material instance. And if this would stop doing stupid things. Right, and it's not going to be an array, because what we're going to do is we're going to select one at the start of the level, right, and then we're going to basically set it. We're going to set all our wallpapers to be that thing. Okay, now I am going to be referring to another project where I actually did this. And we're actually going to change this variable name. We'll call it wallpaper in use, right? So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to create a function, and we're going to say update wallpaper. Right, and this is where we get to the fun. Right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to data table. We're going to get data table row names. Right, and it's going to be from DT wallpapers. Then we're going to get the length. Now, anybody who's ever talked to me on Discord will know this particular thing very well, and that's going to be -1 for doing random getting random values. Okay, so then we're going to do range integer, and it's going to be from 0 to this number here. So because we've got 13 wallpapers, it's going to be from 0 to 12. Okay, and then we're going to get right. I've just had a brain freeze. We're going to get a copy. Right. And then we're going to do data table row. And this is going to plug in here. Hey Blue Leo, how you doing? Right, and we're going to be getting this again from our wallpapers. Okay. And then we're going to break that, and then we're going to set this okay. So that's the first part, and what that's doing is basically going to our data table and picking a random wallpaper. Okay, so we're getting the row names, the length. So this just gets us the length, the total number of wallpapers we've got, and then we're picking a random one. We're getting that row name, and then we're picking out that particular wallpaper, right? And then we're setting our wallpaper in use. Give me a second, going to have a sip of my coffee. So now we've got that, we're going to, well, you guys won't see this, but hi Blue Ego. So we've got Blue Leo and Blue Ego. A lot of blue. Anyway, so I'm now going to refer to another project, which, as I said, I have done this before. So this is where the magic starts. What we're going to do is we're going to get all actors of class. Okay. And we're going to get all static meshes. Okay. Then we're going to do for each and then this is the interesting part. We're going to do another for each loop. right? No, we're not. We're going to do a for loop. And it's going to be 0 and 1. Now, you might be wondering to yourself, why would you do that? Well, it's for one simple reason, right? All of our static meshes that make up the walls have two materials, right? And all of our, let me just show you this, okay? And this is why this works, right? So this is where the little sneakiness comes in, right? And the little tricks of the trade. If we look at our blueprints, and it's not actually those ones, I believe, is it these ones? Yes, right. If we look at the walls, right, see this wall here? This is just a static mesh, okay? This was an asset, right? If I double click on that, you'll notice it's got two material slots, slot 0 and slot 1. So I have to find out which one of these basically has the name wallpaper in it. And if it has a wallpaper in it, then basically I replace it with my selected wallpaper from the data table. Okay? So basically all of these parts have the same material slots, right? So if it's a wood slot, you'll notice it doesn't have a name with wallpaper in it, okay? And it's only got one slot. So I need to check both material slots, find out if it's got the name wallpaper in it, and if it has, then I swap it out. Okay? So we'll go back to actually doing that. So this is me checking the two materials. Material 0, material 1. Okay? And then I say static mesh component, because we're getting a component. Then what we do is we get the material and we use this index for the material index, right? Because you'll notice that this is material index 0, element 0, and you'll notice from the other one, which has 2, we've got element 0, element 1. Okay? Then what we can do is we can get the name of this material by saying get display name. Okay? Now, if we get the display name, what it's going to bring us back is this name here. So this would be MISRS walls 01. This would be MISRS wallpaper 10. Okay? So, what we do now is we say substring. And we're going to find a substring. Okay? And we're going to search in this display name, and we're going to look for wallpaper. Okay? And if the answer is greater than 0, then we're going to do something. So we say branch. So basically what it does is finding substring is, let me give you an example here. We're looking for wallpaper, right? If we did it in this one here, it would go, well, wallpaper isn't in there, right? So it would basically give us a 0 back. In here, it's going to go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Position 7 is where wallpaper is. Okay, so we're going to get a number back that's bigger than 0 because it actually exists in the string. Okay, so that's how that logic is working, right? So basically, we go to here, plug that in. Then the next thing we do is we now drag in our wallpaper in use, and this component we're going to set material and I hate when it does that. So this is going to come over here. We're going to go true in there. Material goes in there. And then our index goes in here. Okay? So we save all that. And by the way, guys, that's it. We're done. Right? We've got one little more thing to do, which is basically at the end of all our setup, we're going to fire our function. And I hate when it does that as well. Right? Now, some of this is going to need rearranged, right? Because we might want to put a delay on the camera lighting up until everything is basically drawn. But that should be it. So if we press play, escape that. That might have been just luck. Okay, so that doesn't seem to be working. Well, that's rather disappointing. That was a big build up for nothing there, wasn't it? Right, so let's have a check on this. I'm going to check one more thing here. And this shouldn't make a difference. Right, because we're not using case. We're going to add a breakpoint here. Right. That's weird. That is decidedly weird. Why is it not going in here? Okay. Add breakpoint. So it is going in there. So if we step into right, we're going to step over, step over, step over, and that should be, so that's given us a wallpaper, right? And that is a wallpaper. Now we're going to check to see how many static mesh actors we actually have. We may actually have to do this slightly differently. Right, so we're getting a display name, rear backplane, so that doesn't have it. Resume. Okay. So what we need is a list of these static mesh actors, right? So I'm going to do a print string here. And I want to see if any of these are basically what we're looking for. It might be that I need to do one more loop inside. I might need to get components. Right, but we'll be able to do that. We'll be able to I think in the previous project these were never part. Yeah. This is because when the guy that was doing some modeling for us, he made up a mansion, but the mansion it was basically built from static meshes, right? What I actually need to do here is get all the parts that are layout parts, right? These things here, and you'll notice that these all have a parent of BP base layout part, right? So what I can do in this makes it a bit more interesting actually, or well, at least a bit more complicated. What we can do here is we can say base layout part. Okay, and now when we do this, yeah, I need to do, this is now a different thing, so this has to be a new for each because it's a new type of, we're looping in a different reference. Or let's say a different class. Right? Now this is no longer relevant to us, but it's going to become relevant to us in a minute. Right? But what I want to do is just print these out and see what we get. Right? So we're getting all the different parts there. Okay? So what we want to do is for each of these get, right, wait a minute, I'm going to disable this just now because it's going to get moved, right? We basically have to take it a step down, right? We're no longer, we're working, all the objects we want are actually get components, get components by class, and it's static mesh component, except is it, is the question. Right, and we do for each there. So we're going to plug that into there, and then we're going to plug this in here and see what we get. Right, now the thing we're looking for is basically like this, right? And it's a static mesh component. Okay, so that's what we're looking for, and the question is that what we're going to get printed out here? Now if it is, we can basically just plug this straight back into here and it should work. Right, and there we go. Right, that's given us all the different parts. Okay, so now all we actually need to do is plug that in there and plug that static mesh component, and in fact all we need to do is that, and we'll set a breakpoint here once, and this then goes in here. Press play. And we have a material getting set. Okay, so we can disable that. And then we can press resume. There you go. Different wallpaper. Press play again. There you go. Different wallpaper. Okay. Play again. And you'll see that it does it on the wraparounds, basically does it perfectly. How's about that? So, if you look at your assets and you spot something like that where everything's named the same or something like that in a material, then be aware that you can go in then, you can identify exactly the materials you need to change, and on a particular mesh that you want to change it on, and you can basically do it. Now, if we wanted to be really, really smart about it, these are all material instances, so we can actually change the size, the pattern, the colours, everything. But I just wanted to get that to work so that you guys would see the effect it has. It just keeps it fresh for the player, you know. Just keeps it a little bit fresher. Alright. And I think that's pretty sweet. Right, I'm going to go and grab myself a cigarette. So if you're enjoying the stream, like, subscribe, check the description for ways to support the channel and Discord, and I shall be right back in a moment or two. Yes, you could, Mr. Spock. But what you need to remember is that you need to make sure that your materials are tiling, right? So that they blend together. If you've got, so you just have to play with it, right? And you'll soon learn what ones you can do and what ones you can't. And what you can do with certain things and what you can't do with certain things. But in this case, because this is a material that's tiled and it's material instanced, we can do a crap ton with it, right? Right, but as you see, we've got all these different wallpapers, so why not use them, you know? Right, and then we can go up here and have a look at our And there's our teleporter, which is looking good. Right? And that's looking sweet. Right, and it all just fits together nicely, you know, so it's all good. Now, the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put some things where there's like blood on the walls type thing. So we could create some decals to actually messy up the walls a bit, because they are kind of clean. But yeah, I'm going to go and grab a cigarette. I shall be back in 2 minutes. Hit like, subscribe, check out the description for ways to support channel and Discord. You're welcome to join. Back in a minute. Don't go anywhere. Okay, we're back. Right, okay. So I think the point I'm trying to make with the likes of this is never be happy. Yeah, you couch your ashtray all over the place. Well, you shouldn't have your ashtray next to your keyboard. That's a bad idea. I don't even keep my ashtray in the house. I go outside. That's how far I keep my ashtray away from my keyboard. Anyway, I think my point is here that never be happy with what you've got. Always try and improve on it, even if it's a small incremental change. Still do it, right? Because it's attention to detail. Okay? These little attention to detail things, these little changes, this little bit of something for the player, they're going to appreciate it. So, let's take it a step further then. Okay? What we'll do is create dynamic material instance. Right? And our parent is going to go in there. Okay, so what we'll do is a bit of randomizing here. Okay. And then what we'll do, in fact, what we'll do is this. Right? And then what we'll do is we'll change this to a dynamic material instance. Okay. Then we'll put this in here, refresh it. Okay, we're not going to do that. What we need to do is that. We're going to set that. We're going to plug that in there. Then we're going to plug this in here. Right? Now, what we need to do is basically we need to set our material before we do anything else, because we're going to apply this material to every single one. So we need the same material and pattern and whatever across all of them within our mansion, right? So if we're going to set our parameters, we're going to have to set them before we do any of this, right? So this is basically picking out our base material, wallpaper, and then we're going to set parameters on it. Now, if we look at one of our materials, right, we'll need the names for them. So, somewhere, and I believe they were in here. And if we double click on one of these, we'll find out. So we've got pattern color, paper metalness, paper pattern metalness. Then we've got paper roughness, pattern paper. Then we've got this tiling one, right? So what we could do, tiling, right? So if we go back to here, we do parameter, we're setting scalar parameter value, and tiling, right? And what we could do is another integer in range, right? And we can say 1, 4, and plug that in there. Okay. Now we could set it to, actually that's what we'll do. We'll set it to something ridiculous first, right? So basically we'll set it to 10. So it could be between 1 and 10 for the size of the... Hi Legend, welcome back. So now we've set this pattern to be as big as 10, which is going to obviously be ridiculous. Right? So all the patterns are going to be well, we could actually set it big. I think it's picking small numbers at the moment. Right, so what we'll do in this case is we'll set it between 6 and 10. And we'll check this parameter name as well while we're at it. Tiling. Yeah, that's right. Right, I've got no idea why. Wait a minute. I want to have a look at this. See, there's the tiling there. Right. And we want to copy that. Just want to make sure I've got the right name here. I believe I have, but I'm going to delete this for now. Right. Now that's certainly weird. Right, I'll show you why it's weird. Because if I set that to 3, yeah, it's getting smaller. Right, okay. Okay. Right. Okay. So if I set that to 0.5, that's going to be bigger. Right, okay, I get it now. I get it. So what we want to do is go back to here. It is working. It was just I had it the wrong way around. The scale is actually gets smaller as the number goes up. Right? So basically we want a number. Right, here's what we want. Int in range, right? And we want it between 1 and 8. Then we're going to multiply it by a float, and we're going to multiply it by 0.5. Then we're going to delete that and put that in there. So the maximum can be is 4, the minimum can be is 0.5, right? So there we go. And there you go, the big huge ones. Right? Smaller ones. It just keeps things interesting, visually different every time you play the game, you know? I think that's pretty cool. There we go. Okay, so we're randomly creating wallpaper patterns on the wall, right? Now maybe we don't want to do 0.5, right? Because we might get that weird effect that we're getting there when they join together, right? But the easy way to fix that is just to basically put this to 2. So the minimum we can get is a 1, right? So we could basically just go 2 and then we can never get a 0.5. The lowest number we can get is a 1. Oh, KB, I haven't had that question asked for at least 2 days. Why am I using Unreal Engine 4? Okay, there's 5 reasons. Number 1, I don't use Lumen, don't use Nanite, so it doesn't really give me anything. Number 2, it isn't compatible with all plugins yet, so some of your plugins might not work. Number 3, it's based on code base for 4.27 anyway. Number 5, I still believe Epic are saying don't use it in a production game. What number are we on? Whatever number it is next. It makes my computer run 10 degrees centigrade hotter. And number 5, there's still niggles in it. It's not ready. There's numerous niggles and little problems with it. So there you go. That's why I don't use 4.2. That's why I don't use 5. Okay. Right, so there we go. We now have our wallpaper getting dynamically I've got a little bit of experience with Unity. And there we go, we've got our wallpaper all working perfectly. And this is the point normally where, like, I'll do something like this and I'll just admire what I've done. I'll just go, that's cool, that's cool. Yeah, that's cool. Right. Because normally I don't expect it to work first time off the bat. It's a little bit different this time because I knew this would work. Because as I said, I've done this before, but as I said, now you can see that we're randomly generating wallpapers, we're randomly generating objects within the game, right? And it all looks good. Right, we're randomly generating lights and stuff and the pictures and all that good stuff. Now what we need to do is we need to randomly generate some dirt. Right, because as with a lot of games, it all just looks so clean. And we don't like clean. Now, by the way, guys, the kicker here is that this is going to work in the main menu as well. Sorry, not in the main menu. It's going to work in the gateway. Right? So, I'll let you see that. Oh yeah, the other night there I did a little bit. You'll notice now that he actually finishes his animation if you unhover. But there is still a problem here. Oh, I've been missing you, bots. Right, but if we actually go into our game, you'll notice Let's see. I'm going to our gateway. Okay. Why is it not doing it? This should do it in here as well. Oh, I know why it is. It's because this does it the original way. Okay, let's fix this then, right? Because this is an interesting one. Right. The problem here is that we don't do this. Right? All we do is this part here. Right? So what I'm going to do, right, now, there's a few ways I could do this, but if I do this and say length, and I say is greater than 0 branch right, then basically I do this. And if it's false, I think I just go straight to there. Actually, no, I don't. Right, I'm going to go back to my reference here. Right, so this is going to go in there, that's going to go in there. Then I'm going to say get all actors of class and we're going to copy and paste that, and that's going to go in there, and this is going to go not in here, right? So we're going to delete that. Right, wait a minute. And this is going to be static mesh actor. Then we're going to do for each that's going to go in there, that's going to go in there, then that is going to go in there. And there we go. How's that? So it now works in the gateway as well. Okay. So there we go. And what we could, okay, if we want to take this to like the nth degree, right, it's not as simple as, right, the other thing was, remember the colours and the roughness and all that stuff, right? Well, the problem with that is, oh, well, it's not a problem, but let's say we wanted to do something about the colours, right? Well, the problem with that is I'm just going to tidy this up a bit while we're at it. The problem is that not all colours go together, right? So I'm going to explain how I would actually solve that issue, right? And this is more about just basically how you solve issues and for programming and designing stuff and all the rest of it, right? So we have our wallpaper, right? And we can select different colors, right? So we can do this dynamically, right? But obviously certain colors aren't going to go together very well, right? So you can't just pick random colors, okay? So what I would actually do in this instance would be I would create another struct, right? I might use this, I might not, but this is the way I would solve this problem. And it's not a problem. All it is another little tweak to give the user, you know, a bit more variety, right? So I would create a struct. Oops. Right, I'd create a structure and it'd be struct underscore and it'd be like wall paper colors, right? And then what I would do is I would say pattern color right, and that would be set to linear color. Okay, and then I'd set another one to, I think it was what, paper color. And I feel dirty not having a U, by the way. I do, for all those British people, I do feel really dirty not putting a U in colour, but I'm just used to it now with programming, so. But it still makes me feel like I need a shower. Right, so basically what I would then do is I would go to Google, right? And let me see if I can bring something up. Colours that go together well. Right? So I would just go to this and say 26 beautiful colour combinations. Right? Blue and pink, charcoal and yellow, blah, 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 blah. And I would just create these. Right? What two colours go too well? Yeah, there you go, that's... Right? And then you can probably get the RGB of these. Right? What about this one? What's this? Whatever. Alright, there you go, yellow and blue. Right, they two, go with them, they look horrible. Yeah, something like that. That would do. Yeah, that would do. Yeah, something like that. There's a lot of the same here. Yeah, it's alright. Okay, now looking at these at this point, this is what I'm thinking. I'm thinking some of these would be okay inverted as well, but some of them wouldn't, right? So at this point, what I'd probably do is I would change this struct, right? And I would say reversible, right? And then I'd just stick that as a boolean. And that gives me another variable, right? So let's say I've got 24 different colours, right? So I can now pull this one. I can now pull this one out of here, right? And if it's reversible, I can do like a random 50%, 50-50, whether it's actually inversed or not, right? So let's say I've got 24 colours, or 24 different combinations, right? And let's say 14 are reversible, then that's me suddenly nearly doubled the number of colour combinations, right? And also, or this is where, right, this is a struct wallpaper, right? We've got a material. What we actually need is, can it use different colours? Because some of the patterns of the wallpaper won't be like, what's the word I'm looking for? They won't be appropriate in other colours, right? So we could say use colour combinations. Right? So basically, if we don't use a color combination here, right, we don't basically randomize the colors, okay? We could also do that with the tiling, right? So this is what I mean by gradually setting yourself up, that you've got all these options that you can use, right? But it's never going to get out of hand, right? So basically what we're saying here is, can you use a different colour combination, or is it best to use, let's say, the colour combination, right? Do we stick to the original colour, or do we use the colour combination? Do we stick to the tiling, or do we allow it to tile to different sizes, right? And in here, we could actually set up the tiling sizes, a max and a min, right? If we wanted to, right? So I'll just give you an example here, right? Let's say we wanted tiling size, right? Now default would obviously be 2, right? But if we wanted to do this as a max min, we could just say int point, right? And that gives us 2 values, x and y. So we could basically say anything between, like, you know, your 0.5 and your 4, right? Okay, so we could set up every wallpaper like that as well. Right? So now we've got complete control of how a particular wallpaper is set up. Right? We've got 13 wallpapers. Right? So now if you look at it, originally we had 13 wallpapers, right? And now we've got 13 wallpapers in 8 different sizes. Okay, so that's 8 times 13, so we're up to 100, right? And now if we multiply that by the colours, say we end up doing 40 colours, right? We've now got suddenly 4,000 different combinations, right? So we've added 2 structs with just a couple of variables, right? We just need to add one more data table, which is going to be holding the colours for the combinations, right? And once we've done that, as I said, we've got 100 times 40 combinations. 4,000. 40,000. We've got 40,000 combinations suddenly, out of nowhere. Right? So every time the player comes in, he's going to see something different. And we've done very, very little. Right? And all we're doing is storing a material instance, a bool, possibly an int point, right? And in the other one, all we're doing is storing 2 linear colours in a bool, right? So that's 2 vectors. 2 vectors in a bool, right? That's all the data we have stored, and we're only going to use one of these at a time, right? We're just going to pull that data out of the data table and stuff it into one variable, and that's it, right? So we have basically given ourselves 40,000 different possibilities, but added practically nothing to the actual size and code of the game. Okay? So, as I said before, right, when you do something, just make it better. Then make it better again. Then make it better again. And by the time you make it better a few times, it might actually be at the standard you want it to be. Right? So if I save that, I can now make a data table out of that. Right? So if we go to miscellaneous and data table, then we go to wallpaper colors, right? Then we OK that, and we say dt underscore and say color combinations, right? So I mean, even just adding a couple of these, right? Now we need the RGBs of these, right? Our alphas are going to be 1 and 1. Our alphas are always going to be 1. Then we'll set it to reversible, right? And then if we go back to our web page, right? Now the way I would actually do this is I would open like a paint program. Actually, we don't need to do that. Wait a minute, I'm talking absolute crap. Right, what we can do is just get our dropper, right, and go bang. And get our dropper and go bang. There you go. Right. What was the one you were talking about? What was the one you wanted? Yeah, alpha's opacity. Beyond agency. Right, where was that about? Was that this page or was that something else? Oh, that one. Right, so we can do the dropper again. That one. We can do the dropper again. That one. Okay, so get your ideas from like everywhere. Right, so pattern color is going to be this one. Actually, no, it's not. It's going to be this one. Right, wait a minute. The pattern is going to be that one. And the paper is going to be that one. Yeah, so guys, get your ideas from everywhere and just build on them and just think of how you're going to implement it. That's all I do. I just, as I said, if I was thinking about doing this, this is exactly the way I would do it. I would just go in on the web, because I'm not a colour expert or a design expert, so why not just use colour experts, etc., to do the stuff that do that stuff for you. You'll notice actually the funny thing is a lot of these colours actually are very, very similar. Right, so basically we've went from 100 varieties to our base colour plus 4, which is 5. So we've now went to 500 different combinations that are possible just by doing this little tiny bit of work, right? Oh, that looks a bit garish. I think we'll go for this actually. So we'll go with this. Actually, that's the wrong one. They did it the other way around. Okay, that. And that. That's very similar to the colours that they were using, by the way. That's, if you notice on this one. So that's very similar, except one's kind of more red. Right, so you remember we've got 100 different possibilities. Every time we add a new colour, add another 100 different possibilities that we've just added, right? Ah, see, that's very... Right, okay, whatever. Paper colour is... These are, a lot of these are very, very similar. But they'll probably be just different enough to fool the player into thinking they're seeing something completely new, even though a lot of the colours are very, very similar. Right, we can add that, and the paper colour is the dark one in this particular instance. And that's the light one. So we've got 7, so that says now up to 700. And if we make them reversible, that's 1400. I'm not too keen on that one. We'll go with this one, even though I'm not 100% on this one, but we'll go for it. I'm not keen on the blue that you're about to see. I think it needs to be a bit darker. So we'll just go like that. Right, so we've got something to work with now. I'm going to have to go and get a comfort break. I shall be right back, and then we'll implement this, shall we? Right, we're going to set them all as reversible just for a laugh. Some of these just ain't going to work in reverse, but I suppose we're going to see. Now the thing about this is we can test it out by just making sure we pick a certain colour, you know, because we know which row is which, right? But anyway, I shall be back in 2 minutes. As I said, I need to go to the toilet. So, be right back, guys. Alright, we're back, guys. Now, what I would say as a caveat to all of this is I would allow the player like the default. Okay, so I would have it in options that they select default wallpaper, right? And then I'd also set it, because this is all about giving the player more options, right? I would also give them a key that they could basically randomize or choose another wallpaper, right? So I would say have a button that chooses a new wallpaper, have an option that says use the default. I'd also have a button that you could hit that that sets it back to the default, right? We're not going to do that just yet, yeah. And I did say the alpha should be 1, so I probably didn't do that right. So that was in DT wallpaper combinations, wasn't it? So I'm probably going to have to set, no, that, well, yeah, I set the first two, didn't I? Yeah, the alphas are all set to 1 anyway. When I used the picker, they all got set to 1. I could have done that anyway in the, when I passed it in. Even though I'm probably not going to pass it in that way, but I think it wouldn't have mattered whatever I set the alpha to in the end, right? But in here, right, we would have something before we picked anything. We would check like a gameplay settings to find out if they were going to allow certain things. Okay, so basically we need to set it up before we do this, before we do this part, right? Now I would probably end up setting this up in probably a function that returns just a color combination, but we're just going to do it in line at the moment, right? So we're going to do get data table row names, and we're going to select it from color combinations, right? And we're basically going to do exactly the same as this. Right, we'll just bring it down here out the way for the moment, and then we'll move it all back once we're done. Right, so that's going to go in there. That's going to go in there. Then it's going to be get data. It's going to be the bottom. And again, this is going to be color combinations, and the row is going to be that. And that's going to be that. Then we're going to break that, and we get our pattern color and our paper color, right? So the next thing we need to do is set a parameter Okay. And we need the name of this. So it's pattern colour, paper colour, first letters, capitalised. So it's pattern colour, and we duplicate that. And this one is paper colour. Right. And then we're getting this. And I don't think these are going to go straight in, but we're probably not. But oh, there we go. How's about that? We're not randomizing them yet, as in whether we swap these around, right? But we could, but we just want to see if it's working at the moment, right? And we're not doing to find out if we can tile or not, but we can. Right, now if I can manage to... Oh, I'm an idiot. Because this needs to go in here. And this needs to go in here. And this needs to go in there. Ah, okay. Whatever. Tidy this up later. Save that. And let's see what happens, shall we? Right, I'm hoping we've got some garage stuff as well. Right, I don't know about you guys, but I get the feeling this ain't doing shit. I don't know if it is or isn't. The problem is there's so many combinations that are possible. That I don't know if it's actually using these parameters or not. Oh yeah, it is. It is. Oof, that's a bit oof. As I said, there's so many possibilities or so many combinations now that it's hard to tell, because you're seeing patterns and stuff and it's sizes that you don't know what the heck is going on. But it's definitely selecting the colours. I think I've just selected a lot of the ones that are very, very similar. Right? And it's not such a bad idea, because they all, well, apart from one so far, they've actually all looked pretty okay. Yeah? Apart from that blue one. They've kind of looked all very nice. Which kind of says something about those colour combinations, to be honest. But yeah, that's different. It's definitely different. Okay, let's do something else. Now let's double the possibility. Right? So what we're going to do is, if this is true, hey Lista videos, right? So if this actually says true, then we can reverse them. Okay? So if it's false, we go to here, right? If it's true, we do in range. Oopsie, that's not what I wanted. Int in range, right? And we say it's a 50-50 chance, right? So if that is greater than 0, then we branch, and if it's false, whoa, tell you what we'll do, we'll put that there, and if it's false, we go to there, right? And if it's true, we duplicate that, then we go like that, hi Slors, how you doing, bud? We're working on wallpaper, right? And in this case, we spin these around, so that goes in there, and that goes in there, and we'll tidy this up later, but this goes here, so this gives us double the possibilities, right? So basically now we've got 13, or let's say 100, right? I've not worked out if List of the videos is actually a bot or not, right? He's been in a few times and he seems to say like sensible things now and again. Right? So remember we had our 8 combinations, which gives us 800, different combinations. Well, now we've just doubled it. We've now got 1600 combinations, right? Because they can be inverted as well. Okay. So our wallpaper now can be inverted. And there isn't an obvious invert yet. Whoa! I think that's inverted. Actually, I'm not too sure. We'll be able to tell actually, right? Because if we just stick a breakpoint here, right, we'll be able to tell when it inverts. Oh, this is, see, even the simplest things like wallpaper, this is really, really cool. Right, we've got an inverted invert alert. Right. Yeah, that looks good. I'm liking that. What I want is that blue to be inverted, right? We've got an invert again. And yep, I'm buying that. I'm buying this. This is good. We're going to take that breakpoint off because obviously it's actually working. Right, but I want this blue again. But yep, I'm liking that. Yep, we can live with that. Oh, here we have the invert. That's the invert of the blue. And that's actually pretty good. I'm liking that a lot. Right, this is... Well, you know guys, this is... It's the simplest things in life. Like getting wallpapers to work that actually make me actually pretty damn happy. Right, but I am not... There's not one yet that we've come across that you would have went, oh, that looks absolutely goddamn awful. Right? Well, actually there's one. But even like this one, if you actually go up close to it, it's actually not that bad. Right, this isn't far off what a mansion would look like, because this is the type of colours they actually use. So, I'm still not even... This is looking good. Now, obviously, it's going to work when we jump into a level. And there we go. So it's all going to work. I think it was actually a bit darker. The green colour was a bit darker than Hibernian green. Right, but again, look, that's a different pattern, but a similar colour. So I could play with this all day now and just look at the different colours and patterns and sizes and... And on that note, guys, I think I'll call it for this afternoon. Hope you guys have enjoyed the stream. I've enjoyed this one, and if you've enjoyed the content, then hit like and subscribe. Always helps the channel, and in the description you'll find a link to my Discord and supporting the channel on Patreon and my previous game on Steam. And thanks for watching, folks. I shall see you tonight at 8 PM Central, I think it is. With the clocks going back, don't know. But it didn't go back here, even though in the rest of the country it goes back. But in the north it doesn't go back, but it goes back next week. So at the moment, for 1 week, I am only 5 hours behind the UK. And then next Sunday we're back to 6 again. So I shall see you all at 8. Thank you again for watching. See you all later. Bye bye for now.